Kia have released the new EV5. This is the European and Canadian version. Will it come to the United States? I don't know. But anyway, here are the details. The battery is different. Kia are not using BYD's Blade battery for the European and Canadian version. There's some other changes as well. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. I'm Sam Evans. You're watching the Electric Viking. Great to have you with us. I'm sure none of you are interested in this, but I'm just going to let you know I cut my own hair. Hopefully it doesn't look too bad. I've been doing this for many, many years. Actually started doing this about 12 years ago. So yeah, haircut today. This is how it is. Hope it's not too uneven. Guys, Kia, the EV5. It's a good car except for one problem. One problem that many other reviewers have talked about. I'll get to that at the end of the video. Kia, it's going to sell the EV5 in Europe and Canada, and it's decided the best way to do this is to make the new EV4 a different version of the EV5 in South Korea, because there's no EV tariffs on South Korean cars in Europe or Canada, but there is on Chinese ones. So the Kia EV5 is actually made in China, the version that the rest of the world gets, but obviously Kia has had to move production for this European and Canadian version to South Korea in order to avoid those European and Canadian tariffs, meaning as well it can't use BYD's Blade battery. As a result, the battery is no longer lithium iron phosphate, it's now an NMC, nickel manganese cobalt battery pack. After launching the EV5 in China in November 2023, Kia's electric SUV has sold surprisingly well. And to me, it is a legitimate surprise how well it's sold considering its price point and its efficiency. Anyhow, although Kia has introduced the EV5 in markets including Australia and New Zealand and other places as well, Thailand I believe too, this new version has been altered for Europe and Canada. The upgraded EV5 gets an 81.4 kilowatt hour battery, giving around 329 miles of WLTP range. The range seems surprisingly pretty much the same as the Blade battery version, which is bizarre. You would think that the NMC battery that they're using would have higher energy density than the BYD Blade battery and therefore give a lot of range. But as you can see, it doesn't. And honestly, 329 miles of range for, which is 531 kilometers, isn't particularly awesome considering it's got a big battery, a big NMC battery. But anyway, it's not too bad. 530 kilometers, 329 miles. It's going to come with GT line model. Also, it has improved charging speed. It can charge from 10 to 80% in 30 minutes. It still has a 400 volt platform. It's not an 800 volt architecture. That, of course, saves money in terms of making it cheaper to manufacture. Both versions that the EV5 comes with is front wheel drive, and there is 215 horsepower, which is 160 kilowatt, and also 218 pound-feet of torque. That's 295 newton meters of torque. So yeah, 160 kilowatt, 295 newton meters. Not particularly great numbers, but they're okay. Kia's SUV also gets bi-directional charging. Can it do vehicle to grid? Well, depends on legality in your place, but most EVs actually can do vehicle to grid. Anyhow, it has vehicle to load up to 3.6 kilowatt. So that's okay. As you can see, it's a fairly boxy vehicle. It's much more traditional looking SUV than almost every other electric SUV. That's probably part of the reason they've sold quite well. They just look like a traditional internal combustion vehicle to me, and I think to most buyers. That's what a lot of buyers want. But also the Kia brand. The Kia brand's obviously fairly strong, and that's probably helped Kia sell a lot of them. Now, these aren't cheap. They are definitely more expensive than most, well, to be honest, all of their rivals, because this is not a particularly big car. In fact, it's significantly smaller than a Tesla Model Y or an Xpeng G6 or a BYD C-Line 7. It's 4.6 meters long. So it's 181.5 inches long. A fair bit smaller than its directly similarly priced rivals. And as a result, it is obviously smaller on the inside than them. Anyhow, it's closer in size to a Hyundai Ioniq 5 than to those other cars I just mentioned. Inside, I think it looks pretty good. It's got Kia says, a lounge-like environment with comfort-focused seats that include massage functions, heating, and also ventilation. The interior is centered around Kia's new CCNC Connect Car Navigation Cockpit infotainment system. And this setup includes two 12.3-inch driver clusters and infotainment screens in a panoramic display, plus a 5.3-inch climate control display. My experience testing cars, EVs and other cars over the last couple of years says I'm not a fan of these panoramic displays, especially now if you're doing country driving or driving on roads you know well, then they're fine, they're totally great. But I found that driving in dense cities, when you're trying to get around and follow mapping, it can be more difficult to follow actual mapping directions on these horizontal panoramic screens than it can be with the screens we see in most other EVs. For example, the Model Y screen, the XPeng G6 screen, the BYD screen, those can be put, really you can see a lot more of the map. You can pretty much see almost double the length of the map. So that's one of the things that I think looks really cool in these cars, these horizontal panoramic screens, but they actually functionally aren't quite as good as the alternative, which doesn't look as good. Anyhow, Kia are building the upgraded EV5 for Europe in South Korea, and therefore the prices will be a little bit more expensive than the existing version, I would say. Here's what Kia Europe's COO had to say about the car. The EV5 is a cornerstone of Kia's European growth strategy. He said an electric SUV is tailored to the way Europeans live, work, and drive. So what is the big drawback behind this vehicle? Well, actually, before I mention that, I should also mention there's two battery pack options. There's actually also a smaller battery option. It's a 60.3 kilowatt hour battery, and that will have obviously less range. Not sure what the range of that version is anyway. So two battery options that you can actually order. Now, the issue here that I've seen raised by numerous car journalists testing the EV5 is its efficiency. Its efficiency is pretty surprisingly bad. In the real world, it's getting around 21 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is a lot less than other cars which are bigger. So other cars which are bigger are returning figures between 15 to 16 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. The cars that I already mentioned in this video, the XPeng G6 and the Model Y, both get around those numbers in the real world. So 21 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, that's a massive difference in efficiency. And I think that to me is the reason why some of the other reviewers that I've talked about the car say it's not a car that they personally recommend. Now, I recommend it to one big group of people. So I'm not saying I don't recommend it, but I recommend it to Kia fans. If you're a big Kia fan, a lot of people are like, brand fans, they love their own brands. Rather than getting an internal combustion Kia or a hybrid Kia, go for this. I think it's a good option in that situation. But if you're in the market for an EV and you're willing to look at any brand, there really is better cars around this price point, which offer more range, better efficiency, and also more internal space as well. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks for watching.